Well, let's talk about something rather different. Boris Johnson has expressed quite a lot of frustration, shall we say. I can't actually repeat the words that he actually said about what the the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, was doing. But he has expressed some concern about the failure of the Home Office to deal with the issue of all the small boats, huge numbers of dinghies coming across the Channel from France. What the beep is the Home Office doing? When is she, Priti Patel, going to sort this out? Is the full quote that is, we haven't had it confirmed from Downing Street, but that's what he's alleged to have said. So what is happening? Dr. Alan Mendoza is Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society, joins us once again. Good morning to you, Alan.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much for joining us. I think an awful lot of members of the public, an awful lot of talkRADIO listeners would echo quite a lot of what the Boris Johnson is reported to have said. Like, what is going on? What is the Home Office doing? Why are hundreds and hundreds of these dinghies able to cross the Channel and arrive on our shores, and nothing seems to be done about it?
Well, I agree with you. It's sort of inexplicable looking at, the situation. We've known this has been a problem now for several months. Action has been promised on multiple occasions. And yet not only is the flow of migrants continuing, but it is also increasing. I mean, we had 179 migrants crossing to Kent on Wednesday alone. There have been 1,000 in the last month. I mean, this is an extraordinary number of people coming over, way above last year's figures, and we're not even at peak summertime yet.
Yeah.
There was even the case, you've probably seen, of the Home Office investigating whether a UK border force boat actually picked up migrants and brought them into the country. So yes, I can understand why the Prime Minister might have some concerns over what's going on.
Is this an issue of a lack of resources? So it's all very well, blaming the Home Secretary or the Home Office or the border force, but actually, if you've got, two boats, and very few powers and things, then what are you supposed to do? Is it the lack of force, the powers that they have to enforce the rules in terms of just dragging the dinghies back to France? Is it a lack of political will? Is it a lack of funding? What's the issue? Because I cannot believe that it is beyond the wit of man for us to stop a bunch of people getting on dinghies in France and coming to England.
Well, I would agree with you. I think it's sort of a mixture of all the things you've mentioned. Yes, of course, there are some legal difficulties. There are some procedural difficulties. But part of this surely has to be the resolve shown to stop it. OK, let's imagine we don't have enough, sort of Coast Guard patrols to do this. So we've done this before. You move the Royal Navy in to help with this sort of process to stop people from coming in. You use other measures to do it. You redouble efforts in France to stop people from coming over in the first place. And you get your act together. What I think is, shocking about this is that months down the line, having spoken about it for months down the line, saying we're going to get control of it, we are not in control of it.
No, indeed. And we know that it gets worse in the summer months as the really rather choppy and rather terrifying seas of the Channel. Anyone who's ever done, any sailing at all, even very close to the coast, will know how choppy it is. And bearing in mind, we've got some of the busiest shopping lanes in the world, huge, big carriers going across. It's really very dangerous indeed. And we know that people die on that crossing, but it does seem to me that a lot of this is going to require international cooperation, and it involves the EU, it involves French in particular. Surely it's in the French President Macron's interest to dissuade people from travelling through France, through to the north coast of France, to get on dinghies. Those camps, we've had Sangat, they just move around. You close one camp, the next one gets set up. It is basically, it's organised criminal network of traffickers. It's very, very lucrative and much safer to do than, say, drug dealing, which has tougher penalties. But surely it's in the interest of France to stop this movement across the Channel, because that is what is the draw for a lot of migrants going to France.
Yes, that's correct. The problem, though, with it is it's always very tempting, if you are indeed the French president, to not close off your border. Well, first, you can't close off your borders. Yeah. The EU's got its positions. It's very difficult to do that. Secondly, though, if you are going to tell them you're not going over to the UK, there's always a danger they're just going to end up in France. And from his perspective, with an election coming, with Marine Le Pen running at 47% of the polls, that's not a position Macron is ever going to take politically. So in a sense, it's always buck passing. I mean, in reality, the conversation has to go back to first principles. At the ports of entry and points of entry into the EU, that's, of course, where everyone should be pulling together and going, we've got to help Greece, we've got to help Italy, we've got to help whoever the places are, and find solutions for them them to make sure that they stand firm to stop the illegal migrants from coming in the first place. Yes. I think Denmark's just passed a very interesting law, by the way, saying that anyone who does make it to Denmark, we are looking to house you outside of Denmark, somewhere else outside while we process your case. That's a lot less exciting if you end up in somewhere like, Greenland or wherever else they're going to intend to put them than if you were hoping to get to Denmark. So
well, exactly. But again, that was something that the British government was talking about, doing massive outcry. But yet, Denmark, I mean, that's as nice and liberal a democracy as you'll get.
Yes, it's very interesting. The Danes have proven very tough on a number of issues, and nobody appears to, including, by the way, repatriating Syrian migrants who've been in the country for a few years and who they now deem are safe to go back. Now, when have you heard of a European country repatriating migrants? Could you believe it was Denmark?
I tell you what the Danes learned. They learned the lessons of some of their nearest neighbours in terms of Germany and Sweden, and their pretty much open door policy, and they've seen what's happened to those countries, and they've very sensibly learnt the lessons. Very wise of them too. Dr. Alan Mendoza, always good to speak to you, sir.